neighbor threatened our cats, so I parked my car in front of his beautiful lawn. This happened many years ago, but I still think about this every so often and chuckle. A long time ago, after my dad died, we moved houses and ended up in a cookie cutter neighborhood in the same city, but in a different zone for some random things, like the law requiring cats to be kept indoors. At our previous house, cats were able to roam free, and no one could force an owner to keep their cat indoors. That being said, our family cats lived 10 years as outdoor cats. And upon moving, we hadn't immediately realized our zone had a different rule for cats. Well, cue the new neighbor across the street barging over and knocking on our door violently. Apparently, he had seen my cat take a shit in his garden and followed the cat home to find the house. My mother was shocked at how rude he was and immediately took a dislike to the guy for being a bastard off the bat. And he was from then on known as Fat Bastard. Well, our cats didn't take well to being indoor cats and suffered greatly trying to adapt. A few times when leashing the cats in the backyard, they escaped. One of these times, Fat Bastard, of course, took notice and again came slamming on our door and threatened to have our cats put down if they set foot on his lawn again. It's not legal, but he could have them taken to the pound where we would have to pay to rescue them. Of course, we want to obey the law and avoid this, but Fat Bastard wouldn't hear about the cats adapting and escaping and doubled down, threatening to deal with them himself. Cue months of tiptoeing around this neighbor. One of our cats mysteriously died of kidney failure, and we suspect she might have been fed antifreeze. This likely happened after an escape, but the escapes had mostly been dealt with after she died because our other cat could be stopped with nets, so no more problems, right? Well, apparently, Fat Bastard Hasser had other issues. He had the nerve to knock on our door after all this and demand my mother paint our fence because it didn't match our neighbor's, not even his fence, our other neighbor. My mother was so done with him at this point, and although I had gone away to school, I'd come home to visit and hear everything about him and how she wished she could get back at him for being a bastard. Cue the petty revenge. Well, this man loved his lawn more than life itself. Every day, and I mean every single day, he would mow his lawn, always on a different angle and always meticulously to an extreme extent. The man loved his lawn. So, guess where I decided I'd park anytime I came home from school? I had to park on the street anyways. Why not in front of his beautiful lawn? No need to park in front of my mother's lawn. Well, he really didn't like that. Only took a few days before he knocked on my mother's door demanding she have me move my car. She slammed the door in his face. I did this for many visits for almost half a year. At one point, I got a nasty, passive-aggressive note on my windshield. I ripped it up and left the shreds on the side of the road. Wind blew some on the yard. Eventually, this man gets the balls to confront me directly, and he asked me very rudely why I park there and that I should be parking elsewhere. I told him I don't like parking under the tree because of spiders and because of the way that I enter the neighborhood. The direction I'm traveling makes it easier to park on that side of the street rather than my mother's side. Perfectly good reason, but of course, an excuse to piss him off. He then threatened to have cops come mark and tow my car. But of course, he couldn't do that until winter, and the roads have to be clear for snowplows. I stopped parking in front of his lawn that winter as I had felt satisfied I'd had my revenge and avenged my mother. About a year later, I heard through my mother the man had a stroke and couldn't cut the lawn anymore. She was smug and happy watching the son cut the man's yard in a normal way and imagining the anguish Fat Bastard must be in watching someone else cut his lawn. To add, we have a catio now and wouldn't let cats out these days and agree they should be indoors only. Back when this happened, it was new to have the requirements of keeping cats in, and we didn't know better. Catios were a concept we came across much later and made one when it was discovered. We actually turned our whole backyard into a catio throughout this process and turned the whole backyard into an inescapable cage. Not as good as a patio, but we were trying towards something like that back before we knew the right way.